To Supermax Z, where today I'll be doing a theory on Ben 10, mostly to do and expand more about the plumbers situation. When the video that I'll link in the description, I said that George Washington was a plumber. Yes, he was the first plumber. And that I also said that George Washington was a forever knight. Here is where I'm going to show more evidence showing that yes, George Washington was a forever knight. Let us begin. On your screen now is the plumber symbol from the episode of Ben 10, the original series Truth. This is in the flashback where it's shown that Grandpa Max was facing Vilgax. So this is a picture, but it's more zoomed in, that's why it's grainy. And let me show you how this one relates to George Washington. This is a picture of the axe that is shown in the episode where George Washington appears of Ben 10 Omniverse Season 8, Episode 10. I'll show a more zoomed out photo now. Now I know some are asking, okay, how does this have to relate with the plumbers? Now the next photo I'm going to show is going to explain it more. This photo illustrates the fact that the plumber symbol seen in Truth, and also another one that I will show right now, is similar to the axe in which George Washington used to cut the stem of Vilgax's ship, if I was to say, during the time he appeared, which I think I'll show the clip for now. Actual sound. Da 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 da. Good enough for the actual sound. In the photo I'm about to show now, it seems like this is the most unrelated thing to what I'm talking about, but actually it is not. Let me show you why it is not actually unrelated to what I'm talking about. The picture I'm showing right now is a zoomed up to a musket in which George Washington used in the episode that he first appeared in when he was fighting a zombie. Right now I'll show a zoomed out version of the photo, zoomed out, but now as you see it, it's a small, so you can't actually see it, but then I'll show you the clip. It's from right now. Can't have actual sound. Like most of you have noticed, I'm sure some people will say that there's a real world symbol that is being used here, but I think the one that would really work from over theory standpoint is as if you look how similar the two symbols are, one of them being the symbol on George Washington's musket and the symbol which is mostly worn by the Forever Knights in Alien Force. Here's also where I'm going to specify on symbols. Symbols are shown that the Forever Knights have multiple symbols. Mostly it's shown to be more prevalent in Alien Force and Ultimate Alien, which I'm going to show some pictures to describe how it's shown to be more prevalent with sects, with parts. But now, first when we come to this symbol, it's shown that they look similar. One looking like an infinity and the other one looking like an infinity, but one of the halves was cut out. That also might explain the pictures I'm about to show now, which are more wide screen. In the photos I'm showing, George Washington is shown to have those things, and it's shown that he has a chemical that can cure people from zombie infection. Now, I know that the plumbers, or the things that we are calling the plumbers, had a name that was used to describe them. Like what I'm saying is like they already had a name that I think was in French. But I know some people are also going to say, yeah, it's that they were plumbers, it's that they had already been. But I'm here to also explain why they could be forever knights. Let me continue with the explanation first. I have to explain about the parts of the Forever Knights having their own symbols. This is the symbol shown on the Forever King's armor in the episode Ben 10 versus the Negative 10 Part 1, and his first appearance in the beginning of the season. And I think it was Best Days, but I can't remember the actual title of that episode of the season 4, episode 1, I think. Next, this is the symbol of Enoch, the first Forever Knights we saw, even back in the first episode where they were still called the organization, which I think was the episode A Small Problem. Now those are the two symbols we saw from the original series. They both look similar, mostly because they come from the same faction of the Forever Knights. This isn't actually mostly shown on most Forever Knights, but it is shown on Enoch in Ultimatalian when they meet up, which I'm not going to talk about in this video. But this is the best photo I could get, and the best one I could get where the symbol is shown very well, because this is also going to be very important. So this symbol is the one for most of the Alien Force Knights, which are two sects. I mean two parts of the Forever Knights, more like legions or something like that. And now the last symbol, which I'm going to show now. This is the symbol of the Forever Knights, which were controlled, or I mean led by Sir George during season 3 of Alien Force when he returned to fight their enemy. So like this, one of the symbols. I'm going to show a picture right now showing where this symbol mostly comes from. Where, when I say now, I mean now. This symbol is most likely coming from the sword Ascalon, which Sir George got from Asmith. And now that's where that symbol comes from. So now here is where the meat and bones, where the setup has finally been paid, starting with this. These are all the leaders of the Forever Knights parts, which you see, and Enoch reads the same as the other one, but I can't remember their names, but these are all the leaders of those specific ones. So let's get to the meat and bones right now. Okay, now that everything that has been used to prepare is done, let's start. So it's shown that infinity symbol looking thing is on the Forever Knights. I believe that's the original symbol of the Knights from the time gone by back in those Middle Ages. And the reason George Washington has a symbol that looks like a half, like if you removed one crescent and another crescent of that, is because I think the faction of the Forever Knights he comes from believe that alien threats should be stopped, but they don't believe that alien threats should be killed. They think either alien threats should be solved or alien threats should be dealt with simply, and not just alien threats. They also think of extraterrestrial, extrasensory, and extraordinary threats should be dealt with in a more sensible way than just killing them. So that's why I believe that symbol has one less arch. Yes, already in the canon, they already say that the plumbers came from George Washington, but now that I have proven a theoretical way that George Washington could be Forever Knight, and also, come on, he cut down a whole stem and had an electric powered musket, which was built by, I think, Dr. Franklin in this universe. Yes, you can say that's just plumber things, but I am seriously thinking that would be a Forever Knights. Maybe this is one of the groups that believe that alien technology should be used for good, and that it should be used to create peace. So now, this is also before the intergalactic faction is formed, so they are all on their own doing this. So now let's go to another thing that connects these plumbers who are formed by George Washington to the plumbers of at least truth, because we have proven that George Washington was in a faction of the Knights, which believe the Forever Knights, which believe that aliens should be stopped but not killed, and maybe just returned. That's also why most likely it was very open to Rook being from the stars and Ben being from the future, because they would believe such things as knights and less like people of supernatural fighters of a time like that. So let's continue on. This is a symbol from George Washington's belt compared to a section of the plumber symbol we saw in Truth, that actually proves that at least George Washington used the symbol of his, because he now did, after Ben told him they should be called the plumbers, I think the symbol which was most likely for Forever Knights group. Can also add another example why they are Forever Knights. I think their original one was like iron workers or iron men, which would work very well for people in iron suits, like armors, like knights. So that's another one that can lead to the evidence. But this symbol also shows that he formed the plumbers, continuing that one. So my storyline up to now, that to explain this entire theory in a short form, is that there's a faction of the Forever Knights that believed that aliens should be stopped but not killed outright unless they forced those people to. George Washington was one of those knights, the iron workers, I think, who also believed that. Then one day in like 1773, he was looking for a zombie when a person from saying he's from the future came. And then after, when that person was leaving, he told him that he should change their name from like the iron workers to the plumbers. He thought that would be a good idea and decided to use the symbol which he had on his belt, and I think also a part of his shirt, to be the symbol that they would use. Yeah, meaning I guess that a section of my past theory was wrong. The plumbers did not become more lawful. I think they were always a little bit more lawful to begin with, explaining why he had like a potion to turn somebody back from a zombie curse. So that's the conclusion of my theory. Bonus part to this theory is how this ties into the intergalactic plumbers. I'm just believing that the intergalactic plumbers came later, most likely formed by Azmith. That's why their symbol is the Galvin symbol, which is also the Omnitrix symbol. So Azmith saw, okay, the plumbers were dealing with alien threats. So then he made his own version of the plumbers, which would deal with more intergalactic and have aliens. Then after, when the other plumbers met the intergalactic plumbers, maybe somewhere later or maybe very early, okay, they decided, okay, we will work together. Most likely after Marx met the Galvins. I think it's shown that in Omniverse that he met at least Blue Cage and River. So what I'm saying is, like, after they met and the intergalactic plumbers and the earth plumbers then decided to unite, but the other plumbers decided, I think, they would use the symbol of the intergalactic plumbers because most likely it looked more cool. So that's how I think the intergalactic plumbers fits into this. That is my theory on Ben 10 about the plumbers and the Forever Knights. If you like it, like and comment, and remember to subscribe and share. This is Super Mark Z heading out.